everybody, this is the almightyzentaco. Today we're doing another tutorial. This one is going to be on enemies. We're going to make some simple enemies. We're going to do some damage to the enemy and to the player. And we're going to animate the enemy a little bit. I think that's it. It's going to be pretty simple. So I've been sick lately, so hopefully I don't cough my head off here. I know I sound a little weird. Okay, first thing you want to do, we need to create an enemy. So we're going to right click, insert object. We're going to make an active. I prepared some art in advance for this, so I'm going to import it. Importing it as an animation. I'm going to make the hotspot at the center. And here's what it looks like. So he's just kind of a worm skull guy. Yeah. Hold on, my microphone's not in the right spot. Alright, anyway. So, hotspot's in the right area. Okay, we're going to make a walking animation and a stopped animation. So I'm going to copy all of these frames here, paste it, make sure it loops for the walking animation, and set the speed of it to about 18, I think. Should do us fine. And for stop, we want to loop it as well, but we just want one frame. We're going to have this one where he's fully erect, standing up. Okay, we're just going to leave this as one direction. This is going to be a very easy enemy, very simple enemy. Let's rename him. Let's call him enemy. Okay, there's lots of things you could do with these enemies. You can make them very complicated, but we're going to keep it simple because we're just learning right now. So he's not going to have any sort of gravity or anything. All he's going to do is shimmy left and right randomly, and then when he hits the ledge, he's going to turn around. And we're going to make sure he can take damage and die. So we need to give him some variables. Let me think about this. He's going to need a health variable. And we're going to give him something called X speed. Excuse me. Okay, we're going to give him a behavior. We're going to make sure his behaviors, his code is inside of the object itself, just to make sure it's easy to kind of sort things out. Otherwise, it can get a little complicated. Since we're not going to really have to do much with his code in the main event editor, we're just going to make it a behavior. So, okay, what are we doing here? He needs to move. We're going to say always. We're going to set his position to his x coordinate. Wait, what did I do? Always set the x coordinate position, x coordinate to his current x coordinate. And then we're going to add, we need to have, oh, we have a variable, hold on. What was our variable? It was values, x speed. Okay, so that's always going to move him left or right on the x coordinate according to x speed. So we need to set x speed to something. So what we're going to do is, we need another variable for this. So click back on our guy. We're going to call this third variable randomizer. And what this is a variable that, we are constantly going to be set to a random number. And then when it hits the number we want, we're going to have it do something. That way it kind of gives you a random timer. We're going to use that to control when he goes left and right or stops. So we're going to say, under always, we're going to change his alterable value. We're going to set randomizer to random 100. Now that's going to give us a number between 0 and 99. So if randomizer if randomizer equals 1, then we're going to do something. Excuse me. Oh, I've had the flu. Anyway, if randomizer equals 1, then we need to change his x speed variable. So we'll set the alterable value of x speed to random. We want him to either be able to go left 1, right 1, or stop. So we need variables, we need numbers between -1 and +1. So we're going to randomize 3, and we're going to subtract 1. Because 3 will give us 0, 1, and 2, and we'll subtract 1, meaning that now the range is -1 to +1. Okay, let's give that a test to see if that worked. Oh, I forgot to change his animation. It does work though. See, he's moving left and right randomly. We could even, add more. We can increase the size of that variable, and it'll change the speeds he can move at. We need to, though, give him an animation, because that doesn't look any good. So we will say if the animation, if the alterable value of x speed is different than 0, meaning he's not stopped, then we're going to change his animation to walking. And if it does equal 0, we're going to change it to stopped. Let's give that a little test, see if it worked. Okay, stopped. So he's not animated. Is he going to move? Yep, there he goes. So it works. Now he doesn't turn around yet. We need to do something to keep him on top of the platform. And there's lots of ways you could do this. You could give him a bounding box, or like have some objects that surround him that check to see if they're colliding with the backdrop, but that's kind of complicated. So we're going to make this really simple since everything is just beginner style here. So we're going to create an active. Let's make sure this stays on the grid. We're going to create an active. We're going to call it, I don't know, turn around. We're going to make it just square, like a red square or something. We're not even going to see this. I'm going to make this invisible so no one can see it. But when you're making your level, we're going to use this as a way of telling our enemy to turn around. So let's go ahead and uncheck visible at start so we can't see that. Alrighty. So we're going to say whenever he collides with another object, and that object is the turnaround object, then we're going to set his alterable value of x speed to its current position, or wait, to its current value, sorry. To its x speed, and we're going to multiply that by, no, there we go, I had the wrong button pressed. We're going to multiply that by -1. Essentially, what we're doing there is, inverting the value. So if it's 0, it'll still be 0. If it's -1, it'll be +1. So it'll make him turn around and go the other way. It should, anyway, when he collides with that object. So let's test and see if that works. Now, we can also... Ooh, that didn't work. That didn't work at all. That did not function. Yeah. Why is this? Let me see. Let's move it to the top of the event. Come on, dude, move. We need to change the rate at which this guy moves, too. Okay, now it works. We can change the rate at which this guy moves. Yeah, see, it functions. Now, the problem was it was moving him before we changed the variable, so he was getting past that point, and he was just kind of in the object. We want to make him move more often. He's too static right now. So what we can do is change the randomizer. Instead of random 100, we're going to make it random 50, giving us less possibilities. So we'll hit that 1 more often, and it'll trigger his movement more often. Yeah, that's better. I like that better. Excuse me. Okay. He has health. Let's give him an initial health value right now. Let's make it 10. So we need to kill him now when his health reaches 0. Okay. Let's put in some comments real quick. Main movement stuff. Okay. And then this is going to be health stuff. Alright, who's texting me? Stop blowing on my phone! Alright, health stuff. Okay, yeah. We need to ask if we're going to compare alterable value. If his health is lower or equal to 0, then we're going to destroy him. Destroy him. And the reason we're saying lower than or equal is because we want to make sure he's dead if we're at 0, or if somehow we get below 0, because you might have an attack that does more than 1 damage. We also want to add an effect to that. We don't just want him to disappear. So we're going to create an object, and we're going to make it the boom. And we're going to create that relative to him. We need to make sure that the object is created before we destroy him. And that's that. Now he needs some damage, because right now there's no way to lower his health. So we are going to say if our axe object collides, because that's our weapon, if it collides with our enemy, then we are going to destroy the axe. Destroy the axe, and we are going to subtract 1 from his health. Okay? Let's give that a test, see what happens. It went over his head. Let's see if I can kill him. Yeah, that got him. It blowed him up. Now, there's one thing you probably want to do, because it didn't look that good, obviously. It was hard to tell he was getting hit. You could have an animation, maybe like an explosion where it hits him or anything like that. But I prefer to make him flash. I think that's easiest. And also, it's good to have a flash too, because we're going to do something here in a second where right now this enemy can be hit constantly. So you could just hit him like 1,000 times in 1 second and he would die instantly. We want to give him sort of invulnerability so that he doesn't die instantly. That way you have to kind of, be strategic. So we're going to call it invincibility, and I know I can't spell ability buffer. Alright. Hopefully I can do this quickly, because my head's kind of spinning right now. I don't feel great. So hopefully I don't mess this up. Alright, so what we want to do is always have our... Actually, no. We'll replace that. We want to ask if our value of invincibility buffer is greater or equal to, we'll say 50. Okay, not 510, 50. 50 is the number we're trying to get to. 50 is the number at which, it's the point at which our enemy is no longer going to be invulnerable. So let's start that out. Actually, let's click on our enemy over here, and we're going to change invincibility buffer to 50 initially. So we're going to initialize that as 50 so he can be hit right off the bat. You don't have to wait. So as long as it's lower than 50, we are going to add 1 to it, so that it gets closer to 50. Excuse me. And then what we need to do is say, okay, so if it's lower than 50, right, so when there's a collision, we need to ask between our axe. So whenever the axe hits the enemy, we need to also say, ask, is the alterable value of his invincibility buffer, is it greater or equal to 50? We're saying greater than just in case somehow it gets past 50. I don't think that would really happen unless some kind of glitch occurred, but better safe than sorry. So what this means is if he is no longer invincible, then he can be hit, essentially. When this buffer has reached 50. Oops. Yeah, anyway, when this buffer has reached 50, then you are able to hit him and do the stuff. This is wrong. This invincibility buffer here, we need to say if it's lower or equal to. I don't know if I said that. That way it constantly counts up to 50. Sorry. Okay, and then we're going to ask, okay, if it's lower than, right. Oh, so when it hits, we need to add one more thing. When you hit him, you need to make him be able to be hit again, right? You want to have this invincibility thing occur. So he's at 50 at this point, so we need to set this invincibility buffer to 0 every time that he gets hit by a weapon. All right, and one last thing. Invincibility buffer, if it is lower or equal to 0. Okay, so while he is invincible, we want to make him flash. And that'll kind of just make him flicker so you know that he's hurt. It's something they used to do in old school games, and I don't know, I kind of like it. I think it's under effect. No, where is it? visibility, flash object. Now this here, this is the rate at which it flashes. So if you said second, he would turn visible and invisible, and then invisible and visible again every second. We want to make him flash a lot faster than that, so we're going to say maybe like 3 milliseconds. And then we need to make sure it turns off. So we're going to ask if the alterable value of invincibility buffer is greater or equal to 50, which is our target number. Then we need to say visibility, make object reappear. That's how you make it stop flashing. You make it reappear. Now you might want to see, I'm just going to assume 50 milliseconds is fine, or 50 cycles is fine for this. But you know, you could make this a variable and then control that. That way it'd be a lot easier if you wanted to play around with it. Let's see if it works. He should flash when I hit him. Boom. Yeah, what happened? I must have had it on for a second. That was flash. Let's flash every. No, that should be flashing way faster than that. Let's make it 1. See what happens. I don't understand. Something's wrong. Bear with me, gentlemen and gentle ladies. Let's figure out what happened. Invincibility buffer is 50. If the invincibility buffer, okay, collision, okay, health, blah, 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 destroy, set 1 to subtract 1 from health, set it to 0, destroy this, add 1 to invincibility buffer. Oh, yeah, okay. We don't want to keep doing that. That's like initializing the flash. That's going to make it not work. You want to have the flash occur when the the object or the weapon hits the dude. I'm sorry about that. So whenever the collision occurs, that's where we want to set our flash. And let's make it 3. I knew I did something wrong there. Sorry about that, guys. I hope you're not confused. I know this isn't the greatest video. Like I said, I've been really sick, so. Boom. All right, so he's flashing. So you know he can, and also watch, it should go through him. See, they go through him because he can't be struck when he's invincible. So, and he should blow up here in a second. There, we got him. Now, another thing we can do is, because if you remember, we also have these potions, right, which have a kind of wild arc. We're going to make it so that if he is hit by the potions, that he loses even more health. So, just copy this event, and then change the object from the axe to the potion. And then destroy the potion instead of the axe. And we need to alter the subtraction of the health from 1. We'll make it 5. These potions are going to be like really hardcore. So he should die in 2 of these. Oh, these potions are terrible. This is a terrible designed enemy. There, that's a terrible weapon, but it works. So, all right. Now we need to give the player some health, because right now this enemy doesn't do anything. So we want the player to be able to be hurt. So he needs to have health. He already has health. I don't know why. I guess I set this up previously. So he has health and a buffer. Perfect. Looks like his health is 100. Oh, you know what? I already did this. We're going to delete this. Don't look, guys. Don't look. And we're going to redo the whole thing. So, you want to have 2 variables at least. You need health, which we're going to leave initialized at 100. And you need buffer, because we're going to make the player invincible as well. We also, a thing you can do in this program, which is very useful, is setting up qualifiers. And what qualifiers are is there are essentially a category of objects that you can call, and like for example, and these are all arbitrary. These are just icons and names, but you know they're just categories. So we're gonna make this dude here. We're gonna make him part of the category of enemies, and that does nothing by default except make him part of that category. But what we can do is now reference enemies instead of just him, and that means that we can call events based on if you collide with someone in, like for example, we want to have you take damage when you hit an enemy, right? When you touch an enemy. So instead of having to make an event for every single enemy object in the game, we can just make them a part of the enemy qualifier, and then we can call that qualifier. We can say, oh, did you touch the enemy group, then run this event. So that is what we're going to do. All right, enemy damage and health. So we're going to say, first of all, if the health of our player, if it is lower or equal to 0, then we're just going to destroy him. And we're going to create an effect to him to show that he's been destroyed. We'll just grab this boom effect. We'll create it over to him. Whoa, what happened? Relative to our player. And since it's the player dying, we're going to make it more dramatic. We're going to resize this boom object so it's bigger. We're going to say scale. We're going to set the scale to 2, making it twice as big. Scale of 1 is full size. All right, so make sure we create first, set the scale, and there. So now, obviously, you're going to have to do more things in this because you need the game to keep working. So in this game, when the player dies, he's just going to be gone. He's going to disappear. No inputs will work, and the game will grind to a halt. So we don't really want that, ideally, So what we're going to do, we're going to say if upon pressing a key, R, then we're going to, I already did this, but we're going to do it again. We're going to restart the frame. Restart the current frame. Right, okay. Now, obviously, in an actual game, you would want to have something happen, like a death animation, maybe a death screen or something, and then restart the frame, initialize it, and do it all again. But since this is just a tutorial, we're just going to kill him and then make you press R to restart. Okay, so if the health is blah, 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 the health is lower or equal to 0, he dies, right? So then we need to insert another one, a new event, and we're going to say if the player collides with another object, and that object is the group of enemies, then, we need more than this though. He has to not be invincible, so we need to take his invincibility timer, which is under him, and we called it buffer. So if buffer is lower, greater or equal to, we'll say 50. I like that. That worked fine for the enemy. If it is greater or equal to 50 and you collide, which means that you were able to be hit and you collide, then we are going to flash him. Going to do a little flashing. Go flash him. Flashy, flashy, flash. Flash objects. We're going to flash him every 2 seconds, or milliseconds. And we're going to alter value, subtract from health, 10. Okay. And then we need to set the buffer to 0. So what that's going to do is make him flash, subtract his health, and get our buffer to 0 so that our invulnerability can run. Now we need to set up do the whole crap where we got to set up the buffer. So a new event, always, we need a buffer to run. So, sorry, not always. We're going to ask if the buffer is lower, buffer, lower, is lower than 50. The buffer is lower than 50, then we're going to add 1 to the buffer, alterable value, add 1 to buffer. I'm missing something. Oh, need to turn off the flash. So if it is greater or equal to 50, then we need to make the object reappear so the flashing stops. So let's give a little look at that and see what happens. Bam, hit him in the face. All right, I should get hurt. No, why am I not getting hurt? How am I failing so hard? How? Okay, let's see here. Collision between him and an enemy. It should flash, subtract him from health, set the buffer to 0. Now, if the buffer is greater or equal to 50, then you can do this. If the buffer is lower than 50, then we add, I'm adding 1 to stars. Whoops. Make sure you got your alterable values pointing to the right value. So add 1 to buffer. Sorry, that was the problem. So you guys learn a lot of stuff about how debugging works just by watching these videos. There we go. A little bit of a word of advice: when you are making games and you run into a problem and you just don't understand what went wrong, it is almost, okay, he's broken. It's almost exclusively something really stupid. We're gonna need to recode this guy too, because his movement, that's not working well. I don't know why. It worked before. Okay, what was I doing? Oh, we're gonna add a health indicator. All right, so we're gonna create an active object. We're gonna call this our HUD object. HUD, we're gonna make it, it's a heart. Actually, I've got two of them. I got a heart outline, and we're going to duplicate that object, or clone it rather. And that's going to be our heart inside. We'll see what this is in a second. I made this previously. So we got a heart outline. It's just a big black heart square. You shrink that though, it's a little big. Okay, and then our heart inside is just a red heart. Okay. Now let's see where these go. We need these to follow the frame because they are to follow the screen to go with it. Like right now they don't. Okay, yeah, I didn't think they would. Yep. So grab this object. We need to make sure that we have selected unselect follow the frame. That was our inside. So the other one needs to not follow the frame. That way they will be more like a HUD object and follow around the screen. And then we are also going to, we want to make the size of our red heart inside enemy damage now. I got these settings, man, I'm messing this up. Sorry guys. My settings, or not my settings, my headings are all wrong. That was the player health, not enemy damage. Enemy damage is inside the enemy itself. Okay, what was I doing? Oh, yeah, health. So we need to always, essentially a new event, always set the scale of our heart to the health of our player. Now, as you know, a scale of 1 is full size. So this is going to mean if our player has full health, that the heart's going to be 100 times too big. So we need to multiply button. We need to multiply this by 0.01 maximum quality. That'll give us the proper heart size to indicate our current health. See, right now we're at full health, so when we get hit, it should minimize a bit. Yeah, it's gonna go down. Now you see we're not getting hit when we stay on the enemy. That's because we called this incorrectly. We said collision between. A collision happens when you are one object is not touching another object and then it comes into contact with that object. We want to actually make this be if he's overlapping. So change that to say, is the player, it's under collisions, overlapping another object, and that is the enemies. So now if we stay on the enemy, we should get hurt. Now we need to fix our enemy. We're gonna need another alterable value. We're just gonna call this one buffer. What's happening is he's moving through these objects, and so actually I might be able to fix this just by changing it from a collision to an overlap. That might get a little spastic, but it could work. We'll see real quick. We just replace this to, now hold on, don't do anything guys, just let's see if this works. Collision, overlap another object, turn around, and I do apologize, this is not very professional. Like I said, I'm not feeling very good. I did not prepare very well for this. All right, let's see what he does. Come on, dude. Move more. I'm regretting giving him a stationary movement. Should just been -1 or 1. Get to the edge, man. I can't tell if it's working. It looks like it's working. Yeah. Okay, making it an overlap seems to have worked. But let's do one more thing just to ensure that it did in fact work. No, it did work. I think we're good. I think this is good. This looks like it functions. I tell you what, guys, if this turns out that this does not work for you guys, I will show you a different way to stop his movement and turn it around. But we've been doing this video for like 15 minutes at least, so I think we're done. Let's take another test to make sure everything works. So we can hit him, right? So that works. He's invincible. I'm getting hit. I'm getting lit up, right? Let's see if I can die. We didn't test to see if I die. Let's see if I die. I should explode. Boom. Okay. Yeah, and I died. And the reason the screen went back is because if you remember, our camera object is set to follow our player, and so our player no longer exists, and so the camera is just going back to initial position. And we can press R to restart. So that's it, guys. I know it's really simple, but it does create an enemy. Now, one thing you might want to do, though, with this enemy is have him toss things or something. I mean, he'd be a better... Right now, he's just like a moving obstacle you have to jump over. But if he threw things on an arc or something, he'd be a more interesting enemy. There's lots of... Whatever you want to do him, you can do all kinds of stuff, but that's just an idea. Anyway, so this works. So I think that covers everything that I wanted to talk about with the basics of enemy movement and health. So I hope that you guys understood this. If you did like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any questions about this one, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will do my best to get back to you and try to help you guys out. So as always, thank you for watching. Almightyzentaco out.